We all have a yearning for love, but relationships can be confusing and complicated. Dr. Tammi Baliszewski says it all starts from within. It starts with a journey to center. Here's your host for Journey to Center on Empower Radio, Dr. Tammi Baliszewski.
Hello, my friends. I'm so honored to be spending some of our day together here on Empower Radio and Journey to Center. You know, as I look around, I would say there's some craziness and insanity on planet Earth. And I have often said we deserve our own respect and compassion for having the courage to say yes to this human experience. And though we may not remember it, I do believe being human is a choice. My personal intention since I was very young was to be a light worker and uplifter. But before I could really do that, I had to get my own ducks in a row. I needed to get on solid ground within myself. And as we journey to center, as we align, become congruent, heal, and become whole, not does only life get better and make more sense for ourselves, we can then become an uplifter for others and perhaps all of humanity. Here's a quote from my wise and wonderful guest today. Humans are fast approaching a critical time in their development, and we must learn to expand our consciousness and reject the dark side before we self-destruct like some of Earth's civilizations in the past. However, before we can hope to help other humans make the shift, we must first get our own houses in order by learning to quiet our minds and live in the present moment, which will help us hear the messages we all get from Spirit. So if you're ready to say yes to being a light worker, shift into a higher level of consciousness, and bring more heaven to earth, you are in the right place here with me on Journey to Center and with my consciousness expert, Garnet Schulhauser. Garnet practiced corporate law for over 30 years in Calgary with 2 blue-chip law firms. After he retired, he took to writing. In his first book, Dancing on a Stamp, which we talked about in our last show, Garnet recounts how his life changed dramatically one day when he was confronted on the street by a homeless man named Albert, who was actually a wise spirit in disguise. This seemingly chance encounter launched a provocative dialogue with Albert, who disclosed startling new truths about the cycle of reincarnation, planet Earth, the afterlife, and so much more. We talked about some of this on last week's episode, and if you haven't heard it, you may want to check it out. It is really quite compelling. Today we're here to talk about Garnet's second book, Dancing Forever with Spirit, where he shares more about his adventures with Albert, who was his tour guide as he visited the spirit side, peeked into the Akashic records, explored distant planets with fascinating life forms, and a human civilization that successfully made the shift to the new Earth. Garnet's experiences gave him a deep understanding of where we fit into the grand scheme of the universe, and we're so fortunate that he's here to share some of his profound wisdom, teachings, answers to our questions and learnings with us here today on Journey to Center. So Garnet, thank you for being back for another episode.
Hi, Tammi, hi, Tammi, and thank you for inviting me back.
Oh, yes. I just started reading your books, and I thought, oh, yeah, I'll do a show with him. But I started reading your books. I was like, I need to do several shows with Garnet. So thank you for saying yes.
Oh, I'm delighted. The last show was just was great, and you had some great questions, and I'm really looking forward to this show.
Yes, me as well. So I think in your first book, in our first show, we talked about some of the logistics about why we incarnate, what's going on planet Earth, what the heck is going on here. Your second book and your continued adventures with Albert was a little bit deeper. You went to visit some the Wise Council. You visited some other planets, and you really started to understand how we fit into the bigger picture. So I'm excited about getting some of your answers and wisdom about those experiences. So where would you like to start?
Well, in my second book, I described my second set of encounters with Albert. The first one was sort of he appeared in physical form as a homeless man. Mm-hmm. And then we had a dialogue that was basically carried on by telepathy. It was a question and answer session. And then he sort of disappeared from my life for a few weeks, and then he suddenly reappeared again in much different format. I was sleeping in bed, and I woke up suddenly, and I saw this ghost-like ethereal figure standing in the doorway of my bedroom, an apparition, basically. And I didn't know what it was until it sort of moved closer to the foot of my bed, and I could see then it was my old friend Albert, but he was in astral form. And I said to him, Albert, what brings you here? And he said, well, I'm here to sort of take you on a set of astro adventures to the spirit side, to other planets in our galaxy, to talk to people, wise people on the spirit side, because I want you to write about what you see and hear in your second book, because he believed that a picture was worth 1,000 words. So rather than just answer my questions, he was going to show me things. And so he did. He literally reached out then and grabbed my astral hand, pulled my astral body out of my physical body, which was still lying asleep in my bed. And he said, "Come on and follow me." And we rose up to the ceiling of my bedroom and up to the clouds. And we eventually went through a shimmering doorway leading to the spirit side. And so that was my very first astral adventure with Albert, the first of many that he took me on. And the first set were described in my second book, Dancing Forever with Spirit.
I did a little astral projection for a while. It kind of scared me. So you were very courageous to continue to do that, I think. And wow, did you get some profound experiences and revelations by virtue of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was all very carefully planned out by Albert. It was he had his own agenda. It wasn't sort of like me telling him I'd like to see this or that. It was sort of like, come, you follow me, and I've got something lined up for you. And it was all designed to give us a lesson or provide us a nugget of wisdom for everyone. And so it was really sort of not for my entertainment, but for my education and for in order for me to be able to write about what I saw and hopefully enlighten other people on our planet. So it was all very carefully orchestrated.
And that you allowed that to happen again, I think speaks of your courage and sincere desire and intention to learn and also be a light worker.
Oh, absolutely. And I was very confident. I mean, for the first few seconds, I was a bit concerned about like sort of leaving my physical body, but Albert was sort of holding me by the hand. I felt very comfortable with him because we'd had a long dialogue before that. So my fear soon dissipated, and away we went. And I felt very comfortable with him, no matter where he took me. As long as he's by my side, and he was, I felt very comfortable. And I haven't been able to astral travel without him. So it's just only when I'm with Albert that I've been able to do these trips. And I feel very comfortable with him as my tour guide.
Fascinating. I think I'm going to be asking for some of those adventures myself with my tour guide. So I like how you're expanding my mind here. So there's something I'd like to talk to you about. I often say what I've gotten during my meditations that we incarnate for 3 reasons. And I'm open to you expanding my thoughts about this or filling in some gaps. Maybe I'm wrong. I think we're here to clean up our karma, maybe be on the receiving end of anything we put out. We're here to learn the lessons of love, which really needs to start and end with ourselves. And we're here to have a good time. But it's hard to have a good time, have great experiences if we haven't done some of the work with the first and second steps, the karma and the love. So what would Albert say to that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the big lessons we have to learn here is, as I mentioned before, is that we have to learn to love, to fully embrace love and compassion, which means loving yourself unconditionally, loving other people, and to love other people totally. You have to forgive them for all the things they've done, contrary to your wishes, all the transgressions, and that's not easy to do. But that's really what the big main overriding challenge that we have on our planet is to learn how to love. And that means, of course, getting rid of our negative emotions, stifling our anger, hate, and fear, because the two can't live together. So as long as you have fear and hate and anger in your heart, love is being pushed to the side. On the other hand, if you fully embrace love, you get rid of the negative emotions. So that's really where we have to go. In terms of our past karma, he says, yeah, it's like a moral imperative that we have when we finish a life and we look back on what we did and we have a life review, sort of reviewing everything we've done, the good and the bad. If we end up with a negative balance in terms of good and bad, we as souls, we feel a moral imperative to come back and try to, right the scales to try to even it out. And so that's why a lot of us keep on coming back. We don't have to. He says that we can always quit incarnating at any time, even if we have a negative karmic balance. But he says most souls don't do that. They just look at that as being a challenge. It's sort of like, okay, I'm in the red here. I really want to go back and try to get my all of my lives into a positive balance, and that's why we keep on coming back. So it certainly is a challenge. But it's not a law of the universe that says we're locked onto the wheel of karma until we get rid of our karma. He says we can leave anytime we want to. We can decide to quit the Earth planet go to another planet or to stay in the spirit side. But most souls just feel that it's their duty to go back and try to balance out their karma if they have a negative karma.
Yeah, you also talk about graduating from Earth School. You saying we can just stop, or is there something we can do to, because almost everybody I talk to is like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. And I know Albert said that a lot of us say that while we're here.
Yeah, that's a very common reaction. And in fact, I often say that I've said that to myself. I said that to Albert, Albert, I really don't want to come back. And he said, well, let's talk about this when you pass on and we're on the spirit side. He said, we look at things much differently there. In terms of graduation, it's not a sort of a formal thing. It's sort of like each soul decides for itself when it's, had a number of lives on earth that, okay, I've learned all the lessons that I can possibly learn on earth. I faced all the challenges. I've overcome them all. And there's nothing more for me to accomplish on this planet. Then you say to yourself, okay, well, I'm graduating from this school. I'm going to go on to another school. So it's different for each person. Some people may do it in 20 lives. Some people may do it in 2,000 lives. So it's entirely different for everyone, but it's your own choice. No one tells you that you can or cannot graduate.
Yeah, I like something you wrote in your book. If you really want to avoid coming back to Earth for more lives, you can help yourself through your actions in this life. Although you do not know what your soul has put into your life plan, you can resolve now how to respond in a positive manner to all the events in your life, whatever they may be. If you can live your life with lots of love and compassion and learn to control your negative emotions so that you do not inflict physical or emotional harm to others, you will help your soul progress towards graduation. I want that.
I mean, that's exactly the goal that we should all have, but it's sort of easier said than done, Tammy.
For sure.
You and I both, I know what a struggle it is to control negative emotions and fully embrace love, but that's where we really have to go. So you look at it this way: if you can reach that goal or get very close to it, then you'll get closer to where you will say, I can graduate from the planet Earth. And so that's really where we need to try to go in each life, and try to avoid accumulating negative karma.
Yes, I think that's so wise. So some of the things that you did with Albert were visit other planets, other dimensions, other realities. What were some of these places like?
Well, one of the places was a planet called Zeron, and he just wanted to show me, and so I could demonstrate to other people that Earth isn't the center of the universe, the only place where there's life. There's life all over the universe, many different planets. So he took me to a planet called Zeron, where the people lived in cities underneath the surface of the planet, and these creatures were very intelligent, very sensitive. They looked reminded me of spiders. So they weren't humanoid at all. They reminded me of spiders. And so I had a conversation with them, and I saw their operations. And basically their role was to monitor all the planets in our universe, in our galaxy, and find out, determine which ones were ready to harbor life, were capable of having life sustained on their surface or under the ocean. And so they would search with their tools, with their telescopes and other instruments, and find these planets. And when they found one that was ready to harbor life, they would let the Galactic Council know, and that they would then arrange for extraterrestrials that had faster than life spaceships to transport life from one planet to the new planet, so that they could seed life on the new planet. And they said that that's how life originated on Earth, was that it was seeded from other planets by extraterrestrials, long time ago. And this has been a continual process where they started off with very small microorganisms and then gradually ramped it up to more complex creatures, and then eventually to humans. So humans originally were seeded from other planets by the ETs a long time ago. So it was very interesting that this very intelligent race had been monitoring Earth right from day one. They were there to help us, they're very friendly, and they really wished us the best, hoped that we could overcome all the obstacles that the human race right now is facing.
And now you said in your book, Albert said, and I would agree, that we're at a critical juncture. We're at an interesting time in our history on planet Earth. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that message basically came to me when I had the meeting with the Council of Wise Ones on the spirit side. And that council is a group of very wise, advanced souls whose job it is to oversee all the incarnations on our planet. And they said to me, we're at a crucial stage, human civilization is, and we have very advanced technology, but our emotional and spiritual intelligence has not kept pace.
Mhm.
And that's why we have so much violence on our planet. We have wars and we have genocide and terrorist acts and murders and so on. And that's just because there's too many of us that let our negative emotions get out of control. But they warned me. They said because we have weapons of mass destruction, that if they were unleashed, we could basically destroy all life on our planet, including all of human life. And they said, we don't want that to happen. That has happened before on our planet. Some of the other earlier advanced civilizations on our planet, some of which we know of, like Atlantis and Lemuria, they rose up to great heights, had wonderful technology, wonderful way of life, but they ended up crashing and burning because they let their emotions and their technology get out of control. And they say, and this has happened many other times that we're not even aware of, and they said to me, we really don't want the human race to do the same thing again. You're at a crucial point, so it's really important for all of us to expand our consciousness, embrace love and compassion, and try to stifle our negative emotions so we don't end up destroying all the good things in our planet that we currently enjoy. And so it was very much of a warning. And they said, we're sending out a lot of messages through a lot of messengers on Earth to spread the message of love and hope and compassion, through people who write books, people like yourself, Tammi, who host radio shows and write books, and people who speak at public gatherings. And they're really trying to blast this message out to cause more people to awaken to the problem and try to find a solution.
Yeah, something that you're saying was first spoken to me about from my spiritual teachers, and they said when technology outpaces the heart or love, then that's where we get ourselves into a lot of trouble. And for me, I'm definitely more of a heart-based person than a technology or left brain person. So I'm grateful to be able to even work with Skype and do this radio show. So would you have some words of wisdom for anybody who really does want to help bring planet Earth into this new reality? And I want to talk a little bit more about what the new Earth is. What can each of us do to take personal responsibility to lift this world up?
Well, it begins with ourselves. First of all, we have to sort of get our own house in order, and to do that, we have to really focus on embracing love and compassion, for ourselves and for other people, learning to live with forgiveness, forgiving other people who get in our way, who step on our toes, and to really put aside our negative emotions. That's really crucial because we can't really love everyone if we have hate or anger or fear that sort of rules our lives. And so we have to sort of stifle that, understand that we really have to unconditionally love ourselves and others. And by doing so, we'll expand our consciousness, we'll raise our vibrations, and ultimately, if we raise our vibrations high enough, we'll basically physically ascend up to the new Earth, which is our planet in a higher dimension. And that's a wonderful place to be. We can't get there unless we have our vibrations match the higher vibrations of the new Earth. And so we have to, try to get ourselves there. But we also have an obligation to spread that message to other people around us, to our family, our neighbors, our friends, our co-workers, have them aware of what the problem is and how to solve it so that we can all sort of work together. And if we can do that, we can all end up eventually raising up to the new Earth. But we have to work at it hard, and we have to do it before negative emotions causes major destruction of our planet through our weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, something I really got, Garnet, is that we can live either from the victim perspective or an empowered perspective. We can't have a foot in each world. It's very uncomfortable. It's not possible to do it for very long. So we really need to choose where we want to be. And I definitely chose to be empowered. And that meant I had to really let go of my sad story and quit blaming everybody else for my situation. To realize that they were part of my lessons on planet Earth, my teachings, what I needed to get. So that I could live a life of compassion and greater understanding. And I do believe that when we're ready for it, if we really sincerely ask for support, the right teachers, the right books, the right information, even our guardian angels, spirit guides, there's so much support for us if we're willing to utter that request. Would you say that is accurate?
Absolutely, Tammi. Yes, there are teachers out there. We have to be willing to listen to the lessons, to listen to them and try to understand where we should be heading and what we need to do to sort of better ourselves and other people on this planet. And our guides and our angels are always sending us messages. But Albert says that if they send you messages and you totally ignore them and keep on ignoring them, eventually they sort of they almost give up and say, well, this is not going to work. I'm going to quit sending messages because nobody is listening to me. So you have to sort of listen to your guides, understand their messages, and try to act on them. And the more you listen and the more you act on their messages, the more you will get. And so it kind of escalates. And so that's really where we need to go. And you're obviously in a good position because you have been listening to your guides and your angels, and that's why you're so enlightened. And it's very heartening for me to hear you say that, because that's, and you're a radio host, you're telling your listeners about your journey, and that really should help a lot of people. And, more of us have to sort of get the message out that we really need to listen to the guidance we get from our spirit guides and to follow our hearts. Our hearts are really what our souls are asking us to do, which is ultimately to embrace love.
It's true. And, for me, definitely pain was my awakener. I've heard that Zen teachings, pain is a universal great awakener. I don't think it has to be that way, but it tends to be. It's like if our way isn't working, then we finally fall to our knees. But for the people that aren't suffering, that's awesome. You can skip that part of the story. It's awesome to be able to just get to that place of love and grace. But no matter anybody's story, whether they've been through hardships or whether it's been relatively easy, we all have that opportunity to elevate our consciousness by virtue of wanting it, by asking for it and listening. I think meditation, like you say, Garnet, is really important. Ask the questions you want the answers to. Listen to the wisdom within yourself. And I think that's how we get this party started.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's how we get the party started. That's how we continue with the party, and ultimately, we'll, if we can do that, we'll end our incarnations on this planet in a much happier state, having and feel good about what we did. And when we have our life review on the other side, we will look back and say, well, thank God. I sort of followed that path of light and love, and thank God I was able to control my negative emotions. And now, I can go back if I want to and try for another experience, or I can just, in some cases we go back to incarnate, not because we need to learn anything, but because we go back to help someone else on their journey, help another soul. So that's the, once you graduate, you can always decide to go back and I'm going to help somebody in my soul group overcome their challenges that they have been able to overcome so far in all their incarnations.
Come back as a more enlightened soul, or of service.
Exactly.
Come back as service. I love that. So another topic, we don't have a lot of time left, but I'd be remiss if we didn't touch on this topic, is the subject of death. And it's so hard to wrap our minds around when we lose somebody that we love, or if we're given, that the doctor tells us we don't have much time, or if we're given, a death sentence through our fatal illnesses. But I think it's so hard for us to wrap our mind around because it's not the truest truth. It's like we're just leaving this dimension and then we're going back to our true home. Can you speak to that for a minute or two?
Yeah, Albert says that it's just a transition, and a lot of people have said this. It's just like passing through a doorway from one room to another. He says that your actual physical passing will be painless. You won't be distressed. You actually, if you're going to die in a car crash, you actually leave your body before the crash. You won't feel any pain, and your guides will be there to take you over to the spirit side, where you'll be met by a welcoming party of your parents, grandparents, siblings, whoever has already passed on. So he says it's actually a very ecstatic and wonderful experience, not to be feared, and it's just merely a matter of you leaving this incarnation and going back home, because the spirit side is your true home. That's where we really reside all the time, in between incarnations, and it's sort of it's a wonderful experience. He says not to be feared at all.
Yeah, it's going to be another adventure. I remember when I was in a lot of pain and I was saying, I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home. I didn't even know what I was saying, but I think it is the truth. This is not our home. I see planet Earth as like a working vacation. Or maybe it's just work, depending on what your incarnation or agreement was.
Yeah, it seems like that to us here, but when we're on the spirit side, because there's no linear time, a 80-year life on Earth is just like a blink of an eye on the spirit side, according to Albert. So it's a very brief sort of working vacation.
Yes. So I'm just so excited to have this conversation with you, and I'm so super excited that I'm going to get you back on another show to talk about your third book. And what was the name of that one?
Third book is Dance of Heavenly Bliss.
Oh, that sounds good, doesn't it? I want more of that.
I
want
hope
to bring
so.
heaven to earth. And I love how you're doing it. You're piercing the veil. You're bringing more light and love in. I think you're uplifting humanity with the work that you're doing. And I'm just enjoying this dance with you so much, Garnet. And how can people get in touch with you? How can they get your book or connect with you?
They can connect with me on my website, which is garnetschulhauser.com, or you can Google Dancing on a Stamp. You'll get to my website. My email address is there, so I welcome comments and questions. You can download a free excerpt from each book, watch a book video, hook up to my social media sites, and there's buy links on my website. So it's all there. That's the best source of information.
I love it. I'm so honored to be here with you. So honored to have you back. And to my listeners and my friends, I'm honored that you spent some time with us here today. I want to hear from you. Go to tammibphd.com. That's spelled with an I, Tammi, BPHD. Write to me. Let me know how you're doing. What are you thinking? Connect with me on Facebook. I love this dance. I love our relationship. It's how we get to higher ground. So God bless you. Love from our hearts to yours. Onward and upward. Bye for now.